Good morning and welcome to the live stream service of the First Unitarian Church of Hobart, Indiana. My name is Gail Thomas and I support this congregation by serving on the worship committee and supporting Faith in Action. We are a religious community of people with diverse beliefs and shared values. Our diverse beliefs are expressed in our 6 sources, and our shared values are expressed in our 7 principles, both of which can be found online. Together, we strive to grow spiritually, build community, and live our values in the world. We are currently in search for a full-time minister. When we do not have a minister in the pulpit, we invite members or guests to share a special message with us. This is one such Sunday. We are fortunate to hear today from Cami Thomas. Cami is coming to us live from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where she lives with her 4-year-old daughter. She supports the First Unitarian Society of Milwaukee, where she has served as an interim religious education coordinator. Currently, Cami is collaborating to bring Black Lives Unitarian Universalist services to Black Unitarians adjacent folks in Milwaukee. Her passions include reproductive justice and healing justice, focusing on women of color. During this time of responsible social distancing, we are striving to maintain the authenticity of our services. So we want to draw attention to several parts of our service today. The bell you heard ringing was our actual church bell, which was recorded by Bob Allen. The chalice you will see being lit today is our actual chalice in front of the green screen of our chapel, which has been made possible by James Johnson. The music you hear is recorded each week by our music director, Jeremy Jacobson. If you are willing and able, we invite you to leave your camera on so that your fellow congregants can see you, just as they would if you were physically present. There will be a time in the service when we will all be unmuted briefly to say good morning to one another. We are currently streaming on Zoom, Facebook, and YouTube. Our service is recorded and will be made available for future viewing on Facebook, YouTube, and the church website. Please at this time take a deep breath and join us in a spirit of reverence as we listen to our prelude. Please join me in lighting our chalice. The words are on the screen. We gather this hour as people of faith with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs, sign of our quest for truth and meeting, in celebration of the life we share together.
Good morning. These opening words come from Audre Lorde. Sometimes we drug ourselves with dreams of new ideas. The head will save us. The brain alone will set us free. But there are no new ideas still waiting in the wings to save us. There are only old and forgotten ones. New combinations, extrapolations, and recognitions from within ourselves, along with the renewed courage to try them out. And we must constantly encourage ourselves and each other to attempt the heretical action that our dreams imply, and that so many of our old ideas disparage. In the forefront of our move towards change, there is only poetry to hint at possibility made real. Our poems formulate the implications of ourselves, what we feel within, and dare make real, or bring action into accordance with our fears, our hopes, and our most cherished terrors.
This is my song, oh God of all the nations, a song of peace for lands afar and mine. This is my home, the country where my heart is. Here are my hopes, my dreams, my holy shrine. But another heart, another land's beaten with hopes and dreams as true and high as mine. My country's skies are blue within the ocean, and sunlight beams on global pine. But other lands have sunlight too global, and skies are everywhere as blue as mine. Oh, hear my song, thou God of all the nations, a song of peace for their land and for mine.
Please join me in our affirmation of faith. The words are on the screen. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament. Service is its prayer, and this is our covenant: to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Now is the time that we're going to greet our neighbors. You will all be unmuted.
Hello, everyone.
Everybody.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning, everyone. Have a great day.
Hi, Carla. It's Marion.
Hi, Marian. Hello. Oh, wait. Hi, Marian.
Hi, Carla. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. You look great. Hey, Lynn.
Hi.
Now is the time in the service where we take a moment and share joys and concerns which have arisen during the previous week. We believe that a joy shared is multiplied and a burden shared is lessened. As the music plays, you can type your joys and concerns in the chat box.
Good morning. I am very happy to be with you all this morning. I've taken a lot of deep breaths, and I saw that you all did this morning too, but I'd like us to all take another one together just to get settled into our space and what I'm going to talk with you about today. And you can just mirror me. 2020 was a long year, wasn't it? And I know I don't have to review it for you. And 2021 came in with a bang as we were, and we are still dealing with global pandemic from coronavirus, but also from the pandemic of racism. But today isn't about the intellectual debates of viruses or vaccines, nor is it about the discourse of racism. Today is about being in right relationship. Today is about whether you are in right relationship with your work, whether you are in right relationship with your friends and your family, and whether you are in right relationship with yourself. Are you in right relationship with anti-racism? These are some deep questions, and I'm sure your mind has begun to reel with thoughts, but let me help you focus in on a more specific example. On January 6th of this year, hundreds of people, if not more, stormed the Capitol building because they believed that Donald Trump won the election and that he had it stolen from him by then President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. As I watched on the television of people storming the Capitol, I was neither angry nor disappointed. This is exactly what I know the United States of America to be. A space that is always creating safety for white folks to do as they please. As I scrolled through social media, I witnessed friends and people of notable interest that were white, stating that they were embarrassed by the actions of the coup, that they could not believe that this was happening. How was this going to look to the rest of the world? The consensus among the scholars in my circle was that we expected nothing less. Nothing less. This was an example of what Malcolm X called America's chickens coming home to roost. In a country and in a time of hate, of police brutality, and of the violence of capitalism during a pandemic, how could we expect to see anything less than white on white violence? And I wondered, for those white folks who have family members and friends that support leaders like Trump and espouse racist, sexist, homophobic views, why are they so surprised? This is the America that has been bubbling up to the surface over all of the hundreds of years, but especially during the campaign trail right before 2016. I wondered what white folks thought about how this was happening, how this coup was happening, and what were the conversations happening about how to keep this from occurring in the future. Now, in my defense, what I'm about to say is not very scientific by any means, but today is not about intellectual debates, remember. I went to TikTok. And for those that may not know, TikTok is a social media platform like Facebook or Instagram, but it is videos. It's 30 or 60-second videos, and anyone can post about whatever topic they want. And there's a lot of good stuff on there. So I went to TikTok to see what was being said. And what I found was young people on TikTok revealing the identities of family members and friends that they knew that participated in the coup. Teenagers and adults alike calling the FBI to give tips on their own family members. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? I did verify a few of these stories to make sure that they were real, and you can definitely Google them and read about them if you haven't heard about them already. But after watching a few of these videos and doing that research, I had to sit with myself. Would I have had the courage to turn in my cousin had he been at the coup? Would I have even had the thought that turning him in was something that I could do? Then I thought, what if my brother, my white brother, had been a Trump supporter? He's not, but let's say he had been, and he was at the coup. What would I do? Would I turn him in? Would I call him to have a conversation? What would you do? What did you do? These folks that had begun turning their family and friends in to authorities, I had some admiration for them. They were in right relationship. They were honest with themselves about who they are and what they stand for. And they then acted on those values, and they applied them directly and publicly. They were clear on their anti-racist stance, and they were in right relationship with their own anti-racism. Where are you with your relationships? Your relationship to yourself, your relationship to those close to you that might not hold your same values. What is your relationship to anti-racism? Are you fully honest with yourself about the beliefs concerning race in this country? Do you reveal the parts of yourself that you're not so proud of? The parts that you need to work on? Are you fully honest with those around you about your anti-racist beliefs? Do you hold them strong and high? Or do you hold them meek and humble? We'll find out. I'd like to invite you to take a little journey with me through our imagination, our collective imagination. And I want you to picture in your mind for a moment just one of the faces you remember seeing from the coverage of the coup on January 6th. Find a face you remember in your mind, or at least the general idea of a picture that you remember seeing. Maybe you're picturing someone climbing a wall, or the one guy who had his feet on Nancy Pelosi's desk. Maybe you remember just one face in a sea of faces that stood out to you. Think of just one of those folks. Maybe you do know someone who was there. Let's hold this person in our minds. And for me, this person was a man. And so I called this person Bradley. Bradley is your nephew, or maybe he's your cousin. You love him, but you wish he made different choices. He lives in Ohio, so you only see him on holidays or special occasions. Maybe you look forward to the time you all will spend together, or maybe it's something you dread. Maybe you all have disagreements on Facebook from time to time, and you have to follow up on those. Or maybe you've blocked him on social media altogether because you can't stand to look at what he posts. He tells jokes that are racist and always laughs it off that you're being too sensitive. It was just a joke. But Brad is a good guy. He uses his snowblower on the entire block to help the other families. Sure, he performs countless microaggressions towards women, but he will also move your entire apartment for you if you asked him, because he's just that kind of guy. You were either ecstatic at the idea that you didn't get to see him this past Thanksgiving because of the pandemic, or maybe you were a little disappointed that you wouldn't get to debate him and let him know all the ways that he's been wrong this year. The last time you all were together very well could have been Christmas of 2019. Dinner had been served and folks had filled their bellies. The family is all sitting together, snacking on cookies and pie or punch. Children may have played in the next room. Maybe some folks stepped outside for fresh air. And there was peace and joy and family. You sighed in relief that things are going well. The conversation is around old family outings and walking down memory lane. But Bradley decides to bring up Trump's campaign trail. And he starts talking about voter fraud in urban areas. And he states that he wants to take this country back. But no offense to you, though, because he knows that you're one of those liberals that like to be politically correct about everything. So he doesn't want you to take it too seriously. How are you in right relationship with Bradley? What does your relationship to Bradley say about your relationship to yourself? What does it say about your commitment to anti-racism? Again, big questions. I want to tell you a story. This story is about me. And there was a time in my life where I was in community with a person who had not been a good person historically, but they were in therapy and they were learning to change and they were learning to grow. He was learning to be in right relationship with himself and others. And I was able to see that he was learning. And I was also able to see that he treated me with dignity and respect at all times. Pardon me. However, there are still other people in his life that he did not treat with respect. There were people that he intimidated, people that he gaslit and manipulated. And I was able to glean this behavior over time. And I had to sit with myself and understand that although this person was learning and they were trying, that they were still hurting people. And it wasn't enough for me that he treated me or the folks that we were in direct community with respect and dignity. In order for me to be in community with him, I needed him to treat all people with respect. If I was going to be in community with him, I needed to see an outward reflection of the values that he shared with me. And those values needed to match my own. There was a time when I was in denial and I told myself that I could not control what he did with other people. As long as he treated me and our group with respect, that was enough. But that was a lie. And that was me not being in right relationship with myself, with my values, nor with the group of people that we were in or this young man. I had to first review my values of respect, dignity, and anti-abuse. And then I had to truly ask myself if I thought this person actually held those same values, not just with words, but with actions. And I had to ask myself, am I being a person that is anti-abuse, that is pro-dignity, if I allowed myself to be in community with a person who did not fully practice the values that I hold strong? And when I answered that question for myself, I knew that we could not be in community in the same way anymore. I did not want to talk to him about this, nor did the other folks in our group. And I was not looking forward to how I thought he would respond. But I also knew that yes, even though it would be well within my right to simply disappear from this person's life, I knew that I needed to tell them that we had a problem. I needed him to know that we had different values. And because of that, things had to be different between us than they had been. And I needed to tell him that because I knew that he was harming people. I could not simply leave him be without some sort of information about what he was doing that was not in line with treating people with dignity and respect. Not just my values, but values that are inherent, should be inherent to every human being. Maybe that would plant a seed in his mind that would jumpstart his own journey or continue the journey he was on. And maybe it wouldn't, but that I needed to do what I had to do to feel good about myself and about my commitment to my values. I could have my own boundaries around my time and energy and who I spend it with, and I could be accountable to myself and my values. Instead of just ghosting him or our group simply deciding that we would not engage with him anymore, we began to tell him stories. I told him of my own journey with a verbally abusive partner. I told him about stories that came up in the news, and other folks shared their stories with him about people in their lives that had gone through situations that he might be going through with people. And over time, he began to share stories of his own from people in his life that had been through these kinds of relationships. And he was able to locate in his life where he had learned those bad behaviors and began to identify specific relationships he wanted to change and how he wanted to change them. This story ends with an optimistic view that people can change, right? That stories can change people. Now, why am I telling you this specific story? This young man was not in my family. I could have pushed him out of my life at any time with little to no worries, right? But with family members, things are different. Family members are in our lives, whether we like it or not. They show up at functions and in group family chats, and we have no control over this sometimes. So what do? We take responsibility and we take accountability. You have to be honest with yourself about your values, about where you are with your anti-racism. Now, of course, we all have to choose our battles. You can't fight every single thing that is said all the time. But if you are in community with Bradley, then he needs to know that his behavior and his beliefs not only go against yours, but go against the decency of humanity. And this isn't a matter of agreeing to disagree. You can agree to disagree about the humanity of people. You cannot agree to disagree about the humanity of Black folks, of Indigenous folks, of LGBTQ folks. It doesn't work like that. You have to dig deep to find the place where you can be in community with Bradley in a way to tell him those stories, to share your humanity and the humanity of others. Storytelling, as many of you have learned through the beloved conversations that you've gone through, is the key to breaking down the walls of racism and oppression. I know this is no easy task, and you all have been working through this for years, but it's something that has to be done. And so I want to invite you now, which may be unconventional in your practice, I'm not sure, but I do tend to do things my own way. But I do want to invite you to put in the chat how you're feeling. How are you feeling about Bradley? How are you feeling about your relationship to Bradley? Do you have a Bradley in your family or in your friend circle? And what is your biggest fear about having the conversations that you need to have with him? And I know it takes a moment for folks to type, so I'll definitely give you some space to do so. As we move into the next weeks and I join you for anti-racism sessions before service, we will definitely dive deeper into these topics and really parse out what it takes to be able to have those conversations. Thank you, John. Yes, many times when we need to have these conversations, we're not able to say what we need to say in the moment, and then we feel guilt or shame or regret afterwards. And that's what this is about. In order to have those hard conversations with Bradley, we need to be in right relationship with ourselves about who we are, about what we believe, and about how we know people should move through this world. I appreciate you all's commitment to being anti-racist. And I look forward to joining you in those future sessions. It is a tiring fight, yes. I want to be cognizant not to pull names or specific things out of the chat for privacy of folks. But I definitely see themes of, yes, the fear of alienating ourselves, of alienating others, of our own selves being vilified. And that is so real. Wondering if we care enough about Bradley's soul to enter into that deeper conversation. Because it's work, right? It's work. Trust me, I know. It's work. It is work. And those fears are real. Those fears are real. The guilt is real. The uncertainty of needing to enter into those conversations is hard work. But for white folks, it is your work to do. It is your work to do. I have work as a Black woman with a white parent. I have my own work to do in terms of anti-oppression and the work that I need to do for myself to survive and thrive in this country, in this society. But white folks also have their own work to do, having been passed down a legacy of racism in this country. And so we definitely need to pull our sleeves up and jump into what it looks like to do that hard work. And so I very much appreciate the things that you've shared in the chat. I definitely would like to take those with me as I prepare for joining you all in the future. But I want to leave you with the understanding and the idea that, yes, this is hard work, but it starts with right relationship. And it starts with you being in right relationship with yourself, to know who you are and what you stand for, and to be able to move strongly in that no matter what. Thank you.
At this time, we will take our offering. While the music plays, please consider making a donation to help the First Unitarian Church continue our online services. You can go to the PayPal link on the screen, and you can make an offering anytime after the service as well. Thank you. Please join us in our closing hymn. I've got Peace Like a River, Song 100 in the hymnal.
I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river, my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got pain like an arrow. I've got pain like an arrow. I've got pain like an arrow in my soul. I've got pain like an arrow. I got pain like an arrow. I've got pain like an arrow in my soul, in my soul.
These closing words come from Adrienne Marie Brown. It's a little bit longer of a closing words, but this is from We Will Not Cancel Us. And I thought that although it is centered towards Black, Indigenous, and folks of color, that Adrienne Marie Brown does mean everyone when she says this. And I thought it was very important for us to hear in this context. We will not cancel us. We hurt people. Of course we did. We are human. We were traumatized and socialized away from interdependence. We learned to hide everything real, everything messy, weak, complex. We learned that fake hurts, but it's acceptable. Our swallowed pain made us unworthy, or depressed, or untrustworthy, or paranoid, or impotent, or an egomaniac. We moved with the herd or became isolationist and contrary, perhaps even controversial. We disappointed each other at every level of race, gender, species. In a vast way, we longed for more from us. But we will not cancel us. Canceling is punishment, and punishment doesn't stop the cycle of harm, not long-term. Cancellation may even be counter-abolitionist. Instead of prison bars, we place each other in an overflowing box of untouchables, often with no trial, and strip us of past and future and the complexity of being gifted and troubled, brilliant and broken. We will set down this punitive measure and pick each other up, leaving no traumatized person behind. We will not cancel us, but we must earn our place on this earth. We will tell each other that we hurt people and who. We will tell each other why and who hurt us and how. We will tell each other what we will do to heal ourselves and heal the wounds in our wake. We will be accountable, rigorous in our accountability, all of us unlearning, all of us crawling towards dignity. We will learn to set and hold boundaries, communicate without manipulation, give and receive consent, ask for help, love our shadows without letting them rule our relationships, and remember that we are of earth, of miracle, of a whole. a massive river of love and life. We all have work to do. Our work is in the light. We have no perfect moral ground to stand on, shaped as we are by this toxic, complex time. We may not have time or emotional capacity to walk each path together. We are all flailing in the unknown at the moment, terrified, stretched beyond ourselves, ashamed, realizing the future is in our hands. We must all do our work, be accountable, and go heal simultaneously, continuously. It is never too late. We will not cancel us. If we give up this strategy, we will learn together the other strategies that will ultimately help us break these cycles, that will help us liberate future generations from the burden of our shared and private pain, leaving nothing unspeakable in our bones, no shame in our dirt. Each of us is precious. We together must break every cycle that makes us forget this.
Please join me in extinguishing the chalice. The words are on the screen. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Everyone should now be unmuted and you can join